I'm Leah Lawrence.
And I'm her husband, Mitch Lawrence.
And you are listening to the Southern Spirits Podcast, where I regale my husband with Southern stories of the macabre, the creepy, and the strange.
And I drink.
What are you drinking tonight, Mitchell?
Our alcohol selections are the same that they've been all week, y'all. Guava Mango Fruited Sour, Jack Daniel's Winter Jack Tennessee Cider, and Shelter Cavern Spirits Whiskey Not Top Flavored Whiskey is in cider, and we do have the last of our cider. We've drank an entire gallon of cider this week. Yeah. So there you go, everybody. And Leah is fairly sick.
Oh yeah, I'm fucked up.
So we'll see how this goes. Leah loves getting sick right at Christmas time.
Oh yeah, and I had the flu for my birthday, so I have whatever this is for Christmas. So
it's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the flu again. So
huzzah.
You just need to, be better.
Yeah, my immune system has been shit for a really long time, and
You should maybe see somebody about that. An immunologist?
I don't know. It's sort of been a lifelong situation, so I'm used to it. But it's not great, but whatever. I'm awake and alive and kicking, so let's do this.
Okay.
All right.
Weird just happened. I don't know if it was my headphones or the microphone went out. I think it was my headphones. So.
I didn't hear anything, so it was probably your headphones.
Yeah, that would make sense. Let me see. They're under this goddamn hood. I don't know if there's anything wrong with them. So, all right. So I'm ready.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, we're just doing our final Leah's favorite Christmas monsters. And our final Christmas monster is St. Nicholas himself. And we are going to be talking about the Catholic saint specifically, not Santa Claus. And they're not the same thing.
Not jolly old St. Nicholas.
No, he's a little less jolly. Okay. He's a lot more Turkish, and definitely a bishop. So.
Is he too Turkish?
No, I think he's just the right amount of Turkish.
Y'all, if you'd ever watched Travel Man, it's a British show that Richard Iowati used to host. And there's this whole thing where they go to Turkey and try these things, and too Turkish is apparently Richard Iowati's safe word that he uses with his wife. Lights on. We've become too Turkish.
Yeah, they were going to a Turkish bath, and they hit them with branches as part of the spa treatment.
That wasn't it. It was the thing that they were trying. It was that little stipe soup or something like that.
Oh yeah.
It
was like some kind of intestine soup made out of some kind of sheep intestines.
That's what it was. Yeah. They tried it and they went, "This is too Turkish." That's where it came from.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
so St. Nicholas is too Turkish.
No, I think he's just the normal right amount of Turkish. So yeah, St. Nicholas, we're just going to go ahead and get right into it because I don't know how long my sinuses are going to be clear enough to breathe. Yep. So let's do it.
Let's get it done.
All right. So St. Nicholas is known as St. Nicholas of Myra because that is where he was born.
Okay.
And it is in modern day Turkey. He was sort of Greek descent. But he was born in Myra. He was born to parents that were a little bit older. They were infertile for a really long time.
Oh shit!
And they prayed to God, please give us a baby, please give us a baby, please give us a baby. And depending on which source you're reading, it could have taken them as long as 30 years to conceive this kid. So Jesus. They were older when he was born. But at any rate, they end up pregnant with this baby, and they decide to name him after his uncle, and his uncle was also named Nicholas. Go figure. And his uncle was an abbot at a local monastery.
I thought his name was going to be Saint, Leah.
No, it was Nicholas, and his uncle was an abbot at a local monastery, and that's sort of how he got introduced to the church specifically, like the organizational church, And eventually he gets made bishop, and like I said, we'll talk about that. But in modern times, especially he's especially revered in the Eastern Orthodox Church, which is like an off branching of Catholicism. Several 1,000 years ago, whatever, they had the Great Schism, and they, it was the Eastern Orthodox Church and the Roman Catholic Church. So they have the same origins in history, but they split off, and they're two differently hierarchically organized branches of that type of Christianity. So he's really highly revered in the Eastern Orthodox Church just because of, where he was from and that kind of thing. But specifically in the Eastern Orthodox Church, he's known as a wonder worker. I think the Catholic Church also recognizes him as that, but specifically he's highly revered in the Eastern Orthodox tradition because he's known as a miracle worker, both when he was alive and also when intercessions of faith, they believe his relics can create miracles. They believe, like I said, that just praying to him as a saint causes lots of miracles. So anyway, so he is 100% a full-on Catholic saint before we even get to any of the reindeers and presents and shit. So
I think I knew that much, that he was a legitimate saint long before any of the other folklore type stuff got involved.
And what's fun is that Saint Nicholas is the patron saint of just about fucking everything and everybody.
I knew that part too.
Man, he is the patron saint of so many things that I had a hard time coming up with this shot in the dark. But we're here and we're doing it. So shot in the dark.
Okay, here we go.
I didn't hear it. Did you?
Oh, you didn't hear it? No. I've got full sound in my headphones.
No, okay. My headphones aren't functioning then.
Oh, okay. Like at all?
No, not at all.
Well, shit. Okay, you work on that and tell me if anything comes up when I'm messing with the stuff here.
Oh, no, it doesn't matter. I don't have to hear it. As long as it functioned on your end, I don't care.
Yeah, we're good.
Anyway, so Saint Nicholas is the patron saint of a lot of different types of people. What group is he not a patron saint of?
Okay.
A, pawnbrokers. B, sex workers, or C, jugglers?
I'm actually pretty sure that I've heard of him being the patron saint of sex workers. So, I'm going to say pawnbrokers. That sounds right to me. Not pawnbrokers.
You are incorrect, sir.
Shit. Okay.
He is, in fact, the patron saint of pawnbrokers and sex workers, but not jugglers.
Okay.
And I will say that I kept coming up with professions that he could not be the patron saint of, and I went and checked his list, and god damn it if he wasn't the patron saint of all of those things.
I bet he's probably the patron saint of jugglers, too, now that you mentioned that.
No, I specifically looked up jugglers, and he was not the patron saint of jugglers.
Well, all right. Here goes. Our winter jack is almost gone, by the way. Bought that bottle a month ago, I think.
Yeah.
Normally our liquors last a long time, so...
But yeah, he's the patron saint of sailors and merchants and archers, repentant thieves, children, brewers, unmarried people, people that want to get married. He has a fucking list of people that can specifically pray to him.
He's one of the more well-liked saints,
he is a popular fucking saint.
This thing is affecting me or making me happy, so I'm going to say St. Nicholas is my saint. That kind of thing.
I mean, and when you go through confirmation in the Catholic Church, I'm pretty sure you choose a patron saint as well. That's sort of one that you identify with or whatever. And a lot of people choose St. Nicholas because, like I said, he's got a lot of interesting, miraculous things tied up in his mythology. And so, anything that you kind of have a connection to, you become the patron saint of, basically. It's interesting. I don't know. I like it. Anyway, we'll just gonna go over his history, some of the more interesting bits of his miraculous happenings, and sort of where his bones and stuff are today.
Fucking shit. I don't know that I want to know that.
Oh, well.
Go ahead.
Okay. So like I said, I told you that he was sort of a miracle baby born to sort of older parents. And he grew up in the church, being a devout Catholic child, especially because, like I said, his uncle was a local abbot, and he was taught in... his parents were not rich, but they had enough to support themselves and him comfortably. So they weren't poor by any means, but they also weren't super duper wealthy. So he had at least a really good education growing up. He had tutors and stuff that he learned how to read and write, and he learned about philosophy and theology and all of that stuff. But unfortunately, a plague came upon the area, and his parents did not make it through that plague. So when he was around his teenage years, the records aren't great. But around his teenage years, his parents perished in a plague, and he gets sent to live at the abbey with his uncle, who is the abbot. So he is, at least from teenagehood, brought up in the ways of the church, and is brought up as kind of a monk apprentice kind of situation. So eventually, like I said, he becomes basically a priest. He has a pilgrimage to the Holy Lands. He, just becomes a very religious kid, becomes a priest, becomes a monk, that kind of thing. And eventually, one of the first sort of miracle foretellings of his greatness happens so he went off to the Holy Lands, and he comes back, and the previous bishop of Myra has died. So all of the bishops in the area have to come together and elect a new bishop. And the bishops basically get together in the church, and they're praying, and they're trying to seek God's guidance as to who should be the next bishop. And one of them, like the main guy, has this vision, and God in this vision tells them, hey, the next guy that walks through that door, whose name is Nicholas, is your new bishop. And they were like, okay, God, weird, a little specific, but fun. Yeah. Cool, no problem. So the next morning, at the first prayers, I think it's called matins or matins or something like that. Anyway, it's the first prayer of the day. And when it's time for that, a dude comes through the door and is, not really talking to anybody. He's just there to make his morning prayers. And the bishop comes up to him, and he's like, hey, dude, what's your name? And he goes, my name's Nicholas. I'm just a humble servant of God, here to do my morning prayers. And the bishop's like, oh, boy, have we got a job for you?
Yeah.
And so they tell him, hey, God told us the next guy named Nicholas that walks through those doors is going to be the Bishop of Myra. And Nicholas was like, look, dude, I'm too young, I'm too inexperienced, and I think you're wrong. And no, sir, I do not want to be the next Bishop of Myra. Yeah. And they basically were like, no, God said so. And so he was like, yeah, okay, I'll be the next bishop. So that's
I'm still turning it down. No, I got things to do.
Yeah, that's how the young Nicholas became a bishop at such a young age.
How old was he again? You said a teenager.
Like I said, he was well into his 20s, probably 30s before he became a bishop, but even that is still pretty freaking young.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
It's like I said, it was odd, but it is also considered sort of, a miraculous thing that God specifically chose him to be the bishop. It was foretold and ordained and all of that stuff. So he becomes the bishop of Myra. And after he becomes the bishop of Myra, at this point in time, have you heard of the Council of Nicaea?
I believe in folkloric type of things. I don't know what it actually is.
Yeah, you should have heard about it in history.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't that. Maybe it was that I'm just equating middle and high school history class to folklore.
To be fair, some of it was.
There you go.
But no, the Council of Nicaea was the first council that was held by church officials. They got everybody in Christendom that was important, all of the learned scholars and men. They got them all together in Rome, and they said, what do we believe, basically? They were trying to iron out some of the theology so they can be teaching the same thing everywhere, basically. So they got together, and they were sort of deciding what was and wasn't going to be canonical in the Christian church. So the big sort of debate at the time in Christian theology was, is Jesus Christ actually a god, or was he a human being that was deified to become part of the Godhead? So is Jesus the same as God, just incarnate? Was he always divine from birth, or was he a human that took on that divination? Can everybody achieve that level? You know what I mean? And so Nicholas was firmly on the side of he was divine from the word go, that he was divinely implanted into his mother's womb. He was God. He was equal to God and the Holy Spirit. That was his gig. And there was this other guy there that was firmly against that and obviously took the other position. And they started debating this back and forth and back and forth. And it was the other guy's turn to talk. And Nicholas got so pissed off at this guy. He was furious. He was just like, oh my God, this motherfucker. You are so wrong. Absolutely not. Baby Jesus was God. Come on, man. And he got so frustrated with him that he got up, strode across the room, and bitch slapped the guy right in the middle of the Council of Nicaea.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I want to do that. Can I just bitch slap some people too?
I don't know. Apparently Santa Claus is slap happy is all I'm saying. And so he got in a lot of fucking trouble for that because, the Emperor Constantine was there and you're not supposed to hit anybody in the Emperor's presence or whatever. So basically he gets imprisoned, right?
Right.
Right. And so all the rest of the bishops are like appalled that he, struck another one of the members of the council. And so they de-bishoped him, I guess. They took his bishop vestments, and they locked him up in jail, and they basically said, we'll deal with you after the council's over. So that night he was hanging out in jail and he was pissed off, and he starts praying.
And that's when the reindeer showed up and busted him out?
I'm
That's
afraid
the story,
there
right?
is a severe lack of reindeer in this story. But so he's praying to God saying, hey, God, can you help me out here? Because this is like a lot and I'm sorry that I hit him and I apologize. And he's, asking for forgiveness for hitting the man. He's doing penance, all of that stuff. And he's just praying really fervently for God to forgive him for his outburst of anger, and that kind of thing. So he sees an apparition of Jesus and the Blessed Virgin Mary. And they're both like, hey, dude, what you doing in prison? And St. Nicholas was like, look, I might have got a little mad, but I love you, and that's the reason. Like, because I believe that Jesus, is
Leah, I've told you many times, I'm only doing this because I love you. As I rear back. This is for your own good.
Yeah, he was
Jesus
just like,
and Mary, this is for your own good.
He was like, I may have hit a guy because I like you too much, Jesus. And Jesus was like, oh yeah, like that happens to the best of us. But you've been forgiven of this sin.
Jesus said that? Jesus said this happens to the best of us?
Well, I mean, Jesus got mad and like trashed the money changers and whatever. So yes, it does happen to the best of us.
Okay.
All
right. Okay. Okay.
And so he's like, okay, no problem. You've been forgiven of your sin. You're totally right, by the way. I am God. And so he gives him like a scripture book so he can just read through the night because that's what's going to soothe his spirit. And then Mary gives him back his bishop vestments. So he gets the stole back and all of the outfit that makes him look like a bishop or whatever. And so the next morning, they find the man in prison, and he's back wearing the bishop robes that they took from him, and he's reading this book of prayer that they took from him. And apparently, like, it depends on which story you read, but most of them say that Jesus and Mary appeared to everybody else in the council and also told them, dude, you're fucking wrong. You should not have imprisoned St. Nicholas because, like, he totally had it right. And so miraculously he gets spared and they re-bishop him, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, he's reinstated as the bishop.
They reinstate his bishophood.
Yeah. And so miraculously, Jesus and Mary intercede for him and he is once again a bishop, after he got slap happy at the Council of Nicaea.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. I could have sworn the deer were going to come in at some point, though.
Deer aren't really, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think reindeer are really a Turkish thing, but
I don't think so.
Or
either.
a Roman thing at that.
I'm pretty sure they're North American, are they not? Reindeer?
No, I think it's more of like a Nordic kind of thing, right?
Okay.
Like it's
honestly don't know.
Like Scandinavian.
Maybe.
Look, I'm very sick at this point, so I don't
fine.
really know what I'm talking about.
You're fine. Keep up the good work.
Okay, cool. So that's sort of like his churchy kind of stuff. But I want to talk more about some of the stories and the miracles that he's associated with and sort of why he gets cast as like the gift giver. How, sort of we've made him into this like holly jolly elfy kind of situation. So
before you get started real quick,
Yeah.
I just want to say, since we're not doing two stories, if you think there's like a natural stopping point where we should let the camera rest, just do that. Just say, hey, we're going to stop for a second.
okay.
But if not, if we can just get all the way through it, let's go
Yeah,
for
I
it.
was going to say, I think we're going to get all the way through it because I don't think it's going to be like a whole hour long and
Okay.
I don't feel awesome. So
Okay. Well,
we're going to do what we can.
I'm just here for the ride, Leah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel you.
All right.
Anyway, look, I've read a lot about and I've lost myself in my notes. So I'm just going to tell you
Okay.
without looking at my notes because I'm a little lost. But I'm going to tell you more about the miracles and the stories of St. Nicholas.
Okay. Tell me.
So the reason that he is the patron saint of sex workers
Oh.
and the reason he's sort
Now
of a
we're talking.
gift-giving dude is that before he was ever made a bishop, before he was, that guy, like I said, he was a little wealthy. He inherited all of his parents' wealth, but he wasn't using much of it because he was like a priest in a monastery, so whatever. So he had some extra cash. And he heard of this guy in the town of Myra that had 3 daughters, and he was very poor. And back then, you had to pay a bride price to marry off your daughters. So it's a dowry. So the bigger the dowry, the more impressive of a husband you could get. It was
Hell yeah. Now we're talking.
Yeah. So it was something that you pretty much had to have money to marry your daughter off.
How much do you think people would pay for my services, Leah? My husbandy services.
No.
1 hot, fresh cup of cider.
I don't know.
Deal.
That seems like a lot.
Deal.
Anyway,
Fuck you too.
I love you.
Uh-huh.
But so unfortunately, if these women didn't get married off, there was not a lot of things that women were allowed to do or could do to support themselves, other than sex work.
Hell yeah.
So it was very, very.
I don't know why I celebrated that. Go ahead.
I would say it was very likely that if these women could not be married off, if they couldn't find a dowry, that their father would have no choice but to basically sell them into sex slavery, which is not great, by the way. So Saint Nicholas was like, okay, can't let this happen. Sounds like a bad choice. But he also didn't want to be the one to be like the hero of the situation. He didn't want to embarrass the father by like just outright giving him the money. So he decides what he's going to do is sneakily gift them this gold that they need to keep them from being sold into prostitution.
Well, that's nice.
So what he does is he gets some gold coins in a bag and he goes to the house and he sort of drops it down the Turkish equivalent of a chimney. I'm not sure that, like they sort of where the fire...
Where the smoke escapes.
Yeah, the fire hole.
Oh, Jesus, Leah.
Hold on one second.
The Turkish fire hole is another sex term. Are you about to sneeze?
I gotta blow my nose.
We don't have any paper towels. Oh, here we go. Here's a paper towel. You can do that. I'll just riff some more Turkish sex terms. Jesus, Leah.
I'm sorry, y'all. I feel like hell. But, okay. So, what was
The
I
Turkish
saying?
fire hole is what you get when you
Turkish
eat
fire
too
hole.
much Turkish food.
Yeah, something like that. And so
Let's hide
he
the paper
he
towels.
takes it and he sort of tosses this gold pouch down the fire hole. And the women had been sort of like they had done the laundry that day, and they had like hung their leggings, their stockings up by the fire to dry them, and the gold fell down one of their socks. And so that's where we get, stockings and whatever being hung by the fireplace and people filling it with goodies, is because St. Nicholas tossed gold coins to prevent a lady from being sold into prostitution down the chimney hole. So, there's that connection. So when you go get your stockings on Christmas today, just remember, since your stockings are full, no prostitution for you.
Ah, bullshit.
No. So that first night, he tosses that sack of gold down the chimney hole, and they find it the next morning, and they're like, oh my God, we've got a dowry for the oldest daughter. Hell yeah. And the oldest daughter gets married instead of being sold off into sex work. So she's happy. But then the second daughter's like, well, shit. What about me, St. Nick?
Yeah.
And anyway, it happens again, and he comes back and he tosses another sack of gold down the fire hole, and it lands in a stocking. And they find it the next morning, and she has a dowry, so now she can get married. Huzzah. And the father's like, okay, someone is throwing gold down our chimney hole. I would really like to thank them to, because this is helping us out, making sure that my daughter is provided for and all of that. And so he stays up late one night waiting to see who's going to throw gold down their chimney hole. And so the father catches St. Nicholas, tossing another sack of gold down the chimney hole.
St. Nick, you been fucking my daughter all night? Every day this week. Every day.
And he sees St. Nick. He's like, Nicholas, oh my God, thank you so much. And he's like, I'm not doing this to be thanked. Give all of the glory and the praise to God. This is just, this is what I do.
This is just me getting my rocks off and paying for it. That's what it was. That's why he's the patron saint. He got a lot of prostitution for him.
I really don't
for
think
his
that's,
efforts.
I don't think that's the case.
Okay.
I think he's just a nice guy that likes to throw gold in a chimney hole.
See, around that time frame, you could get away with going, yeah, I'm not partaking. I'm just giving them money. Yeah, around then you could get away with that. Now we got, you're being tracked with your cell phone and stuff. You can't get away with that stuff anymore. You can't be like, no, I'm not accepting the services of the sex work. I'm just helping.
They were not sex workers yet. They were
Leah.
being prevented from becoming sex workers.
Leah. That's what I say. I'm preventing them from getting into worse situations by freely giving them money. I'm not partaking.
Anyway, so the father's like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And Nicholas was like, no problem, bro. Give all glory to God
Nicholas
for
goes,
that.
no, thank you. And with a wink and a little finger gun.
And anyway, so...
Awesome. Leah's phone's ringing.
So yeah.
Can you mute your phone?
I'm sorry. I don't want to fuck up the recording because I fucked it up twice already.
Well, your dad's
week.
just going to call again.
Yeah, I know he is.
Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, so yeah, that was the reason why we have stockings for Christmas and all of that jazz. So, and that's also weirdly the reason why he's the patron saint of pawnbrokers, and even to this day, like the symbol outside pawn shops is like 3 bags of gold. Yeah. You've seen that, like the 3 gold balls sort of hanging. Yeah. That's representative of that story, which is weird. Yeah.
That's very weird. Okay, interesting. So pawn shops are Christmas shops all the time.
I suppose. I think it was more along the lines of it was a way for like poor people to get loans,
Okay.
And
there it is again. I told you.
Okay, y'all.
Mute it.
So,
he's going to keep calling.
Yeah, I know. So we're going to take a short break.
There you go. I was going to say, let's take a break.
We're going to blow my nose. We're going to talk to my dad, and we will be right back with more Nicholas Palooza.
I'll see y'all in a minute. Bye. Welcome back, everybody. I was just singing to the cat right before we went back on. Don't worry, Leah has talked to her father and explained to him that there are more important things going on right now.
My dad's the king of last minute shopping. Like, he just has to get one more thing. And so he's out terrorizing the local antique dealers today.
Yeah.
He had to get one last minute gift for my grandmother. So as much as I try to bully people into like telling me what they want so we can get the shopping done early so we don't have to do that, for some reason, he always finds a reason to be in shops on Christmas Eve. So there you go.
And while she was talking to him, I was singing, "It's the holiday, Stephen, holiday, Stephen." And see, now look how happy he is.
Yeah.
He won't leave me alone.
He seems thrilled by that song.
Yeah. Look at him. He's a good boy. All right, Leah, get back to it.
Okay, so back to Nicholas Palooza. That's what I'm calling it, by the way.
Yeah. I've written it down already.
Yeah. So, another story of a miracle that... Will you stop it, Stephen?
Did he knock over something?
Yeah, he did. Another story of St. Nicholas's miracles is that when he went on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, he obviously sailed there on a ship, and... Ooh.
What? You gonna sneeze?
Nope, it was a burp. Anyway... Y'all, I apologize. You probably don't want to listen to any of this because I am gross today. But
it's gotten progressively worse this whole week. Every episode.
It's really bad. Anyway, but yeah. So on his visit to the Holy Land, he was on a ship, obviously, and the ship was being tossed by this terrible storm. And he pulled a straight up Jesus, and he rebuked those waves, and he told the storm winds to calm the fuck down, and it did. And so all the sailors were like, hell yeah. And that's how he became the patron saint of sailors and travelers, because that's a thing.
Yeah, that's cute.
Yeah.
He's very good at just Jesus things, I guess. So.
Yeah. Very, very much so. And, you know, it was a lot. But anyway, he also... so this is a story that we told earlier this week when we were doing... that
what?
Ruprecht. Necht Ruprecht, I think that was his name.
Okay.
I am very foggy right now. I'm sorry, y'all.
I don't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah, but this is one of the stories, and this is a different version of that same story because it's told in different ways that I'm going to tell you now. So there was in Myra a really bad famine. There was not enough food to go around, and people started turning to cannibalism, but they were doing it in a sneaky way.
Christ.
If someone died, the butchers would, chop the bodies up and pretend that it was pork, basically. And some of the more unscrupulous butchers wouldn't even wait for someone to die. They would, kill children and sell them as pork. And so one of the butchers in town, murdered 3 children and butchered them up and put their meat in his display, trying to sell them as pork. And St. Nicholas comes up and he's like, oh, I get the distinct feeling that these are children and not pigs. So I don't know whether he prays over it or he waves his magical hands or what, but some kind of miraculous St. Nicholas stuff happened, and the pieces of meat sort of get up and sort of conglomerate back into children that are perfectly alive and not butchered. So he is the patron saint of zombie children as far as I'm concerned. He is the patron saint of children because of that. That's part of where he gets his tie into being the saint of children, is that, they got butchered and he realived them. But
that's terrifying.
That makes Santa Claus a necromancer at this point. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. Santa the Necromancer. Now we're talking.
Santa the Necromancer.
Had a very shiny boy that he just brought back to life.
No, I don't like that. Why is he shiny?
Well, because he was dead, and now he's just got that glow of being freshly
that unearthly reanimation glow.
Yeah.
So that makes Santa a necromancer in my particular opinion. But yeah, that's where he gets his association and tie to children specifically. And he's also the patron saint of the wrongly accused, which is weird.
Well, because he was basically wrongly accused. Well, I mean, he wasn't. He was in jail.
Yeah, no, he bitch slapped the guy. That was him.
He did it.
Yeah, no.
But, you know.
This is a different story.
He did it under good purposes. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the thing.
But basically, Emperor Constantine sent out some soldiers or whatever to go do something. I don't really remember. My brain hurts, but
very informative.
Yeah, he goes out and he like the soldiers are doing something, and some other people tried to take advantage of the fact that there were Roman soldiers in the area, and they dress up as Roman soldiers and start pillaging people's houses and doing stuff like that. And so when the people realize there is like Roman soldiers off doing like nefarious things,
dog started barking. Sorry, y'all.
The actual soldiers are the ones that get accused of this activity when they in fact are not the ones that did anything. So that was rough for them, and they get accused, and they in fact get like put on trial to be executed. And basically Santa Claus is like, no sir, we can't have that all up in this Myra area. Thank you very much. And then he basically defends them, realizing that they are not the ones who were committing these crimes. Mm-hmm. So he's the patron saint of the wrongly accused.
Was he an attorney?
Fun.
Sounds
I
like
don't
he was
think
an
so.
attorney.
I think he was just a learned man that realized that these dudes totally didn't do it.
Santa the sovereign citizen. That's what it sounds like. Judge, you took an oath of office. Anyway, if you don't watch Sovereign Citizen videos, you're not going to get any of that. Just move on.
And then also, he saved the entirety of Myra from a famine. So that same famine where the people were like trying to butcher children to eat, St. Nicholas was like, ooh, maybe if we had more grain and food in this area, people would stop butchering children. And so there was no one coming in with grain. So he miraculously appears to a grain merchant in Italy that is sailing towards Egypt. And he appears to them and he says, hey, grain merchant, I will give you these 3 coins in addition, these gold coins, in addition to paying for all of your shipment if you come sail to us instead of to Egypt where you were headed in the first place. And then the next morning, the grain merchant wakes up and he miraculously has these 3 coins, and he's like, oh shit, I guess I'm heading to Myra. So he brings in this entire shipment of grain, which, the St. Nicholas pays for and distributes throughout the city. And it was enough food to hold them over 2 years of the famine and have enough to actually sow seeds to have a harvest of their own. And so he's like a patron saint of wheat vendors and farmers. That's as
upsetting.
Well.
All of that is upsetting.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Patron saint of wheat.
Yeah, so he can appear in people's dreams. So he's astral projecting. He's a necromancer. What else? I don't know. He's a spooky dude. He's a slap happy dude. I don't know. That's a lot of Saint Nicholas. Like I said, he reanimated children. He saved people from starvation. He's just, a pretty cool saint. So those are very briefly, some of the miracles that he's associated with in his life. But he's also associated with like miracles in his death. So, they originally entombed him, in Turkey there. And so it was being watched over by like that group of monks there. But the Italians were like, dude, I want some of that sweet, sweet St. Nicholas action. So people from the sailors from the Italian island of Bari come after him because stealing, weirdly, in the Middle Ages, stealing saint bones was totally a thing. If you could steal some relics and set them up in your
I've heard of that,
location, you could make your town a site of pilgrimage. And people that are like places that are sites of pilgrimages, all of the businesses in town get money off the pilgrims.
Yeah.
Like, so the church is venerated and they get, offerings, and then they also get to sell them merch because there was ye old saint merch. It's fantastic. There are a couple of YouTube videos from the British Museum. They had a couple years ago. They had like a saints, like a rotating display. I guess it was one of their big displays for the year. Was something about saints, and like they had a bunch of old like saint merch. Like it was the patron saint of whoever, and they had pins and ribbons and buttons and paintings and stuff that the church would sell to the pilgrims. And then also you've got all the artisans that are making that stuff. You've got all of the people in town that are selling food and lodging for the pilgrims. Like, it was a big fucking deal to have saint relics in your town. So like I said, the people from Bari head over to where he's buried in Turkey and are like, fuck y'all, we're busting in and we're taking these saint bones. And when they bust in, they realize that his bones are exuding, they call it manna, M-A-N-N-A, or they call it like sacred oil or something like that. But basically the bones are leaching out this clear liquid that apparently is supposed to have properties of like healing, and that tomb, that it's like the bones and stuff are said to still leak all of that stuff today, and like the manna of Saint Nicholas is still used in the Eastern Orthodox tradition in like healing services and whatever. It's still considered a miraculous thing. But they bust in there and like he's got weird watery bones, and they take all the big bones. They leave like the rest of the like not impressive bones, but they take most of the big bones and they take it back, and they build a temple, not a temple, but like a cathedral, and a shrine to him on the island of Bari. I keep saying island. I don't know if it's an island. It might not be an island, man. My face
probably
hurts.
Not. Knowing you, it's probably not.
But anyway, they built, a temple, a basilica there to display the relics of Saint Nicholas, and they're still there today. But of course, the relics of such a huge patron saint were really popular. So bits and pieces of Saint Nicholas were like stolen or given as gifts. There's tons of bone fragments that are said to be of Saint Nicholas all over the fucking place. So there are bits and pieces of him in Venice. There are bits and pieces of him just all over the fucking place. Whether they all came from the same person or not, who the fuck knows, man. I mean, if you took all of the supposed bones of Saint Nicholas, you could make a couple of people out of him, like it's one of those things. So yeah, that's Santa Claus, man. That is your boy Saint Nicholas. And actually the reason that he so I told you previously that oh, sorry, I'm not joking. I'm very dizzy, but
are you okay?
I'm not great.
Do we need to stop?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
But the reason that Santa Claus, like our traditional Father Christmas Santa Claus, is dressed in red and white is because bishop robes are red.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be Coca-Cola.
No, bishop robes are red, and the stoles that they wear were white. So he's had the red and white color scheme forever. Mm-hmm. That's just a thing.
But there used to be other colored Santa Clauses too, though, right? Weren't there like green ones too? Weren't they sometimes depicted differently?
I mean,
I've heard that. I don't know if it's accurate. I
mean, here and there, people will depict him differently, but for the most part, Saint Nicholas was always in red and white, and his the iconography of him is always red and white because he was a bishop. And even today, bishops wear red. In a lot of places, he's still depicted in bishop robes, especially in the Eastern Orthodox Church in the areas where they celebrate, Eastern Orthodoxy. He is known and wears more of the actual saintly robes, the bishop robes, and a lot of the times he's carrying the bishop staff, which is like a shepherd staff that's gold and shiny. And a lot of the times in a lot of Scandinavian countries, Santa Claus or Saint Nicholas arrives on a boat. And he arrives on a boat because he's the patron saint of sailors. He's sort of the saint of the sea kind of thing as well. So, I don't know. It's just interesting. And, eventually when they were trying to Christianize a lot of the different areas, he was, so his feast day is generally set for the day of his death, which was December the 6th. And so he was close enough to the winter solstice and Saturnalia and all of that stuff. He has that sort of gift-giving persona. He's someone that's connected to children. So he just seemed to be a figure that was good enough to sort of wrap up in this whole Christmas celebration. So he kind of gets connected to these winter holidays and feast festivals, and he gets incorporated into local traditions of the Christmas wild man, which is also a whole different thing. Very pagan.
I want to hear about that.
They sort of just, how it does. It just sort of over the years, the traditions sort of get mingled together. And, that's where you get your Santa Claus. So yeah. I'm very tired.
So yeah.
Just yeah.
Well.
But yeah, so that's why Santa Claus is a monster specifically because he is a necromancer and he can astral project, be in two places at once. He's a bilocator, I guess, is what you would call that. So yeah, he's like a wizard, I guess. Yeah. That's what I'm going to call him.
Wizard Claus.
Wizard Claus.
Okay. Well, how you doing over there?
Not great.
Okay. Is the story done?
Yeah, that was mostly all of it.
I was just seeing how you're doing, if we need to take another break or something.
Yeah, no. That's everything. Okay. He's Saint Nicholas, man. And if you're interested in any more of the more minute specific stories about Saint Nicholas, and if you are inclined to hear that from a more theological perspective, there's a website called stnicholascenter.org that is all about Saint Nicholas, everything that you could ever think or want to know about Saint Nicholas, some of the different historical theories, actual historians arguing back and forth about minute things about his life, etc. It's put on by the Virginia Theological Seminary. So if you're interested in him and you're cool at looking at it through a Christian lens, that's a great resource and website. I found a couple of articles from National Geographic that were really interesting about him. And, you got your good old pal Wikipedia, because who doesn't love Wikipedia? So yeah, those are the sources that I pulled for that. And yeah, so that was just, the final capstone of Leah's favorite Christmas monsters. Who was your favorite Christmas monster over the ones that I talked about this week?
Sainty Claus.
Sainty Claus,
because he partook in sex workers.
He did not partake in sex workers.
Yeah, Leah, he just helped them through college. You're right. He was just a very helpful person. I still maintain that he was, patronizing and he had to pay them. That's what's happening.
Well,
Yeah, you do what you got to do. I agree.
Fine. If that's how you believe, rock on. My personal favorite is the Mari Lloyd, because who doesn't want a horse skull puppet with a rap battle?
Yeah, the rap battle thing was pretty interesting too. Only if some of those are recorded and on the internet.
There are actually recordings of that you can 100% find, and they're from some of the earliest sort of when motion picture cameras first started being a thing. There are a couple of actual recorded they staged a Mari Lloyd display, and they had the dudes with the bowler hats and the curly mustaches running around with the thing, and so there are very early recordings of Mari Lloyd on YouTube that you can find, and there are also the modern day ones that you can look at. Really fun. Some of them they've wired LEDs into the eyeballs, and
perfect.
I don't know, makes it spooky, makes it a little fun. But yeah, so man, let's all hope that Leah gets well for Christmas.
Yay.
I don't know.
Especially because we have plans the day after to go somewhere.
We do.
And Leah can't be sick to go because we're going to a casino.
Yeah.
So either she's staying here or she's going to be better. Those
either
are the two
we're
options.
Staying here.
Either she's staying here or she's coming with and she's going to be better.
You would totally leave without me, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I definitely would, because you need to be at home. We're meeting a friend of mine there, so yeah, I'm definitely going. I hope you're better. Fucking.
You're such a douche.
Fingers crossed, but yeah, I have plans to bring cigars and everything.
You're not gonna stay home and take care of me?
No, you're fine. You've done this for 32 years. You've taken care of yourself sick for a long time, and the dogs are here. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Y'all, I need a new husband for Christmas.
Well, ask St. Nick. He probably knows some male sex workers that he hasn't paid yet. He's got his account is running up the juice.
All right. Well, fucking that's all I got for y'all. And I'm going to drink the rest of this cider and take a nap before I have to be somewhere this afternoon. So.
Yeah, for meatballs.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for listening and for making it through this week with us. We hope that you have enjoyed this week, and we'll be back to Southern Stories next week, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there we go. And again, no episode on Sunday. This is coming out on Christmas on Saturday.
Yes.
So you have a whole 8 days to get your shit together. Right?
Correct.
I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to them.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
correct.
Get your shit together, Leah.
I will.
Feel better.
Look, I can't promise anything.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
But anyway, thank y'all very much, and we will see you next time.
Bye, y'all.